Hey, let's talk about something that's got a lot of people asking questions. This idea of a $5,000 refund check, also known as the DOGE dividend. Sound great, right? A tax refund straight into your pocket, funded by savings from the government itself. Elon Musk has even said he'll bring it up with President Trump. But is this actually happening? Or is it just another idea that sounds good on social media, but might never make it past the talking stage? Before we get into it, if you find these financial updates helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel, and you won't miss out on important news like this. So, here's what's being proposed. The DOGE dividend is a one-time $5,000 tax refund check that would go to American households that pay federal income taxes. Unlike the stimulus checks from a few years ago, this isn't money the government would be borrowing or printing. Instead, it would come from savings created by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. And yes, DOGE is a real thing, despite the name sounding like a meme. And the idea is simple. Cut government waste, fraud, and unnecessary spending, then take 20% of those savings and return them to taxpayers in the form of a one-time refund. The goal is to make sure taxpayers see direct benefits from efforts to cut down on wasteful spending. Now, who would actually qualify for this check? Well, unlike stimulus checks, which were sent to most Americans regardless of whether they worked or paid taxes, the DOGE dividend would only go to tax-paying households. So if you file federal income taxes, you'd be eligible. If you don't, like if you rely entirely on government benefits or have no taxable income, you wouldn't receive a check. The idea behind this is that since these savings are coming from government cost-cutting, they should go back to the people funding the government in the first place. And Fishback, the guy who proposed this, argues that this would make it less inflationary than previous stimulus checks because it's returning tax dollars rather than injecting new money into the system. But here's the catch. The exact eligibility details haven't been worked out yet. Would it be a minimum income threshold? Would single filers get the same amount as married couples? Would the check be reduced for higher earners? We don't know. This is just a proposal at this stage, and if Congress moves forward with it, the final version could look very different. So then, how does this actually work? Where's the money coming from? The DOGE dividend would be funded entirely through spending cuts rather than new government spending. Right now, DOGE claims to have saved $55 billion by eliminating inefficiencies, renegotiating contracts, reducing fraud, and downsizing certain government programs. But for the $5,000 refund plan to happen, they need to hit a $2 trillion savings target with $400 billion set aside for taxpayer refunds. That's a massive goal, and this is where things start to get complicated. Even conservative budget experts doubt that $2 trillion in savings is realistic without major cuts to programs like Medicare, Social Security, and the Defense Department, programs that politicians are usually reluctant to touch. Trump himself has promised to protect those programs, which raises the question, where is DOGE supposed to find these massive savings? Another thing to consider is whether this money would even be used for refund checks at all. Just because DOGE finds ways to save money doesn't mean Congress is required to send those savings back to taxpayers. Lawmakers could just as easily decide to use that money to reduce the national debt, extend tax cuts, or fund other government programs. Right now, there's no law saying that savings from DOGE must be returned to taxpayers. That decision would have to be approved by Congress. And as we all know, getting any major financial policy passed isn't exactly quick or easy. Even Elon Musk himself isn't fully committing to the idea. His original response was, "We'll check with the president," which got a lot of people excited. But shortly after, he also said that balancing the federal budget should be the first priority. That suggests that even if DOGE achieves major savings, the first place that money might go is toward reducing the deficit, not refunding taxpayers. So, let's say this does go through. What would the impact actually be? One argument in favor of it is that since it's only going to taxpayers, it wouldn't be as inflationary as previous stimulus checks. The idea is that people who already contribute to the economy would just be getting some of their own tax money back, rather than the government printing money and injecting it into the system. That's different from past stimulus checks, where every household, regardless of their tax contributions, got a payment. But here's the flip side. If $400 billion suddenly gets injected into the economy, even if it's coming from savings rather than new spending, it could still drive up inflation. That depends on how people use the money. If most people save it or pay off debt, the impact on inflation would be small. But if a lot of that money is spent quickly, it could drive up demand, which means higher prices. Now, let's be real. Is this actually happening? Right now, the DOGE dividend is just a proposal. There's no bill, no official government backing, and no guarantee that it'll even make it past the discussion phase. The savings goal of $2 trillion is incredibly ambitious, and without clear details on where those savings will come from, it's hard to say how realistic this really is. So, for now, the best thing you can do is stay informed and manage expectations. If you're hoping for this check, it's a good idea to have a backup plan because, as we've seen with past stimulus programs, policies can change, and not every proposal makes it across the finish line. And what do you think? Does this sound like something that could actually happen, or is it just another political idea that sounds great but won't go anywhere? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.